Well, folks, hey, I want to thank you for being here tonight. I hope that you've had a chance to celebrate a little bit of Cinco de Mayo, had a little cerveza, some guacamole, some chips, probably too many chips, and now you're stuffed. And I hope that you don't feel bad about any cultural appropriation you may be guilty of. So anyway, happy Cinco de Mayo. Thanks for being here. I want to talk to a subject tonight that's very near and dear to my heart. If you're here, you're aware of the fact that I run an outfit called Blue Lobster Leadership. I'm a leadership geek. In fact, my official title is the Chief Lobster Wrangler, and our motto is to lead up. And tonight, that's what we're going to do. I've been in this business now for, I don't know, a couple of decades and some change. And I moved into this business from the corporate environment. The interesting thing was in the corporate environment, proprietary information is very, very closely guarded. You don't be sharing secrets with your competitive sales rep that's in the same office in terms of the weaknesses of your product or anything that's proprietary. I then transitioned out of corporate life upon retirement into full-time leadership consulting. I'm certified by John Maxwell. And at his certification meeting, I found something very interesting. Now, this is a room full of people that are going to be doing all the same thing as he is, the whole 9 yards. Everybody's a leadership consultant in some manner or another. But what I found was, with all the great speakers that he had on speaking, on coaching, on all these different areas, there was no proprietary information. It was a matter of, hey, if you like what I'm saying, steal it. You don't even have to steal it. I'll give it to you because we're all here for the same reason. And that's to help to change the world by developing more effective, in fact, even inspirational leaders. That's what we're all about. And if you can take something of mine and it helps you do that job a little bit better, we're all for it. Okay. So with that in mind, let's go to the specifics of the evening. I'm going to show you a meme. You spend a lot of time on social media. I mean, who doesn't these days? And you're looking at now is a meme that appears on social media about every 6 months. It may not be exactly this meme, but this one shows up there a lot. This was taken directly off of LinkedIn. If you were to go to Google and you were to Google, if you were to search leadership versus management memes, what you're going to find is similar memes, hundreds of them that have the same sentiment. This one particularly happens to come from a firm, a leadership development firm. I shall not divulge the name, but according to LinkedIn, they have 1.8 million followers, okay? Now, I'd like to say that's Blue Lobster Leadership, but it's not. But here's the meme. So let's get to it. When I talk to managers, I get the feeling that they are important. When I talk to leaders, I get the feeling that I'm important. Now, ask yourself, if you look at your business card and it says regional sales manager, how does this make you feel about your job? It's the sentiment of the meme itself says that managers are, they're just all about themselves. However, a leader is somebody that really makes you feel good about yourself. And I have a problem with it. I'll be very honest with you, because if you're going to go into management, if you're going to go into leadership, if you're going to go into any kind of leadership or dealing with other people with this type of attitude, you're going to pave yourself a very difficult road. And it shocks me again, 1.8 million followers, and there's 22,599 right here in this little number that says either thumbs up, gave a little heart, there we go, or a clap, a polite golf clap. It's amazing to me. And I'd like to address this more because I think it's a very important topic to discuss as we talk about leadership. And that's what I talk about. So let's take a look at it a little bit closer. When you look at the video, when you look at the meme itself, it basically, and really along with the rest of those memes that are out there, they tend to do these two things. Let's talk about manage first, the left-hand column. They'll say that managers will tend to maintain value. Okay, I've got something going on here. I made quota this year. My team made quota this year. And so we were going to sell that same amount next year. That's a problem if you're in sales, because if you made 10 million this year, you're going to have to make 20% more next year, 12 million. That's the way it is. Every morning you wake up and the rock's down in front of your door and you push it up to the top of the hill again, and the mountain gets bigger and bigger. But anyway, but managers tend to maintain value. They focus on the present. What are we doing today? It's a problem there, because if you're managing in a pandemic environment like we have been for the past year, and now as it's starting to fade off, as we're starting to lift those restrictions of COVID-19 and that pandemic, you're not ready for what the society is going to be like and what your business environment is going to be like when we finally get to burn all those masks on YouTube. And finally, managers tend to compromise. They don't drive for what they want. They tend to compromise. Now, there's nothing wrong with compromise as long as it doesn't involve your principles. So I'm not sure what they're talking about there, but those are the three characteristics that these memes tend to point towards from a standpoint of managers. They tend to maintain value. They are focused on the present, not so much on the future, and they compromise. None of those are terribly exciting. I tend to kind of make it analogous to Brussels sprouts. Now, Brussels sprouts are edible. They're actually, we have a little name for them in our house. We tend to call them fart balls. And I didn't eat Brussels sprouts until about 5 years ago. But something caused me to finally eat Brussels sprouts. And I find now that I tend to enjoy them. And that's important. We'll come back to that later on. But let's now talk about the leader. Let's transition over to the right side of the slide and talk about what leaders do. Again, these are the sentiments that you're going to find on Google when you look at management versus leading. Leaders don't just maintain value, they create more value. They don't just take an individual and look at their talents and use their talents. Leaders take that individual and they create more talents. They create a better individual with greater skill and develop them to be even more powerful and more responsible than they are now. Leaders don't just they're not just satisfied with the present, they're looking at the future. Okay, this is where we are today, but where are we going to be in 5 years when technology changes? We have to be ready for that. See, that's a good thing, right? And leaders don't compromise, particularly their principles. They do what's right. No matter how difficult it is, they do what's right and deal with the consequences, because that's what's right. And if you don't do what's right, you've got to face yourself in the mirror every morning after that. So you can see what I'm talking about here is that they don't really paint managers in a particularly good light. You guys are the Brussels sprouts of business. Leaders, however, are the bacon of business. Everybody loves bacon. Everybody loves leaders, right? To put it in maybe a little simpler, just a diagram. You can see it, in the old Venn diagram thing with the intersecting circles. Where you've got here is the manager. You've got the manager here, and you've got a leader here. And they're their own little universe. And maybe you can get a pinky square of intersection about the two. But for the most part, managers are one type of individual and leaders are another type of individual. And if you're listening to any of these memes, the sentiment is you don't want to be a manager, you want to be a leader. That's where the problem is. Before we identify what we can do about it, I think it makes sense to define management and leadership the way it really is. Okay, and I'm going to use an analogy of a gymnasium. Everybody goes and works out somewhere, right? You might go to LA Fitness, you might go to Anytime Fitness, you might go to West Coast Fitness, wherever. You might go to the YMCA, you might have built one in your garage, but you go someplace to work out. And we're going to use that kind of an analogy. So imagine the manager of a fitness studio. What is that manager's job? Well, just from a managing point of view, we can look at managing as defined by obtaining, maintaining, and utilizing resources to accomplish an objective. Let's bring it inside to the studio. The manager of the studio has got to get a hold of the universal equipment, the free weights, the ellipticals, the treadmills, the stationary bikes, all that, and the Jacob's ladder thing, which will kill you. But they've got to get a hold of all those before they can even open the gym. That's a management task. Once they get them in the gym, it's important for the manager to make sure those things are kept clean, because people sweat all over them and they get disgusting really quick. So you've got to maintain them. You've got to keep them up. When they break down, you got to get somebody to come in to fix it. When you have some musclehead slamming weights to the ground and it breaks one of the barbells, you got to get that fixed. And utilizing the resources, based on what your customers want, you got to get the right tools out, the right equipment out so that they can do what they accomplish. If they don't have spinning classes, there's really no reason to have 25 spinning bikes sitting in the lobby. Put them away somewhere. Utilize them when you need to utilize them when you develop a spinning class. But those are all management tasks. You see where I'm going? It's a thing, if you will. Management is a thing. It's mostly about things. The things might be payroll, the things might be, HR, the things might be insurance. All those sort of things are all management sort of things. And that's where it gets this picture kind of dull, because it's kind of dull, particularly if your passion is for leadership. So managing is to obtain, maintain, utilize resources to accomplish an objective. It's not a bad thing. It has to happen. Let's transition over to the other side of the slide now. If that's what management is, what's leading? Well, leading, again, John Maxwell says, leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. All of these memes paint leadership as the bacon of personal relationships. Now, I'm going to take a little tangent right now because that's what I do. So I'll just go over here. No, I'll go over here. It's even better. That little tangent I'm going on is they paint leadership as an absolute positive. I'm going to name you a leader that led his nation in 1940 through 1945, had the support of his country behind him in order to wage war against an enemy. Now, if you're thinking positive, you might be thinking Winston Churchill, but actually I'm thinking about Adolf Hitler. In both cases, they were very effective leaders. One was positive and one was negative. So you can't even say that leadership is always bacon, just like you can't say management is always Brussels sprouts. Okay, but we're going to go on the positive side of leadership right now. That's a whole nother chapter we'll get to in a few weeks, maybe. So leadership, influence. Influencing what? Influencing a group of people. People, not things, but people, to accomplish a mission because those people want to do it. It's not putting a gun to their head and making them do something. A leader needs to not motivate. Leaders don't motivate, but they need to provide the environment so that the members of his team or her team motivate themselves to accomplish this task that needs to be accomplished because they want to. Okay, so you can see the differences between management and leadership now. Brussels sprouts, bacon, I don't know, let's look. I think we can look at it. Remember the paradigm I showed you with we went back, I'll go back to it. The paradigm that talked about the two circles. This is the paradigm that everybody's painting on these memes, particularly this one. And I want you to think differently whenever you see it, because managers and leaders do not exist in two separate universes that only come together a little bit at a time with a pinky swear. This is what the paradigm needs to look like. And this is where I want your head to go whenever you start thinking about leadership or management. There it is. See what we've done? We've taken the leadership universe. We've taken the leadership tasks and we've incorporated them into the management tasks. If you're a leader, if your business card says manager on it, it doesn't mean you don't worry about people. If your business card says platoon leader, it doesn't mean you don't worry about management. Let's go back to our fitness studio again. Imagine a fitness studio. State of the art. This has all the latest Pelotons. In fact, there's a Peloton bike for everybody in there. You know, now they have these weight machines where you don't lift weights. It's all digital. The resistance is made through digital voodoo. I don't know how they do it, but they're pretty cool. But they put them up on a wall. They don't even look bad. But anyway, the point being is that, you know, our gym now, our subject gym is going to have all this stuff. It's going to have state-of-art temperature in terms of hydration and just every factor that a brand new state-of-the-art gym can have. And boy, you're going to want to join that thing. It's probably going to cost you $150 a month. But imagine that the staff of that gym it's a little shaky. Nobody can tell you how anything works. Nobody even really cares of whether you're there or not. They don't say hello. They don't say goodbye. They don't interact with you. When you hand them your credit card to pay for your membership, you really don't want them to take the credit card in the back room because you're not really sure what's going to happen to it. Their turnover is on a weekly basis. There might be a a trainer in there that you like that's helping you get in shape for a triathlon, but they only last a week or 2 weeks and then they quit. Now you've got a situation, and what I just described was a gym that's got great management. He has acquired and utilized and maintained the resources, the equipment, so that it's state of the art and the envy of every other gym in the county. But he doesn't know how to deal with people. Okay, and that's why he's got the turnover, and that's why they're not trustworthy. They don't care about you, and they're not committed to what they're doing. I don't think you're going to want to join that. If you've joined it, you're not going to want to stay there, regardless how nice the equipment is. Let's turn it around again. Same gym. Well, there's a gym across the street. Their equipment is terrible. All they have is buckets of sand. They've got free weights, and the free weights are just, they're a little cheesy. The bars are a little bent. The equipment's just not the state of the art like you saw at the other gym. But the people are there. The trainers can show you how with just your own body weight, you can get yourself ready to be an Adonis. I mean, they know their stuff. And not only do they know their stuff, they know you, they know why you're there, they know what your goals are. And now you've got a tremendous leadership thing taking place, but the management just hasn't been handled too well. Again, maybe not the ideal gym, but leadership is all about taking management and incorporating it with leadership. If you're a leader, you've got to be a successful manager. You can't get people to follow you if you don't pay them on time. You can't get people to follow you if you don't want them to take vacation. You've got to do the management things to be an effective leader, and to be an effective manager. You're probably in charge of people. You certainly have influence on people, and you've got to have those skills to lead those people as well to help you accomplish that objective. It's a simple measure, but the next time you see one of these memes, in fact, I'd encourage you just to search Google for leadership versus management, see what you find out there, and see if I'm wrong. I think you're going to find that I'm pretty well spot on. And if I can get you to look at leadership and management from this perspective, this has been a very, very effective use of a Cinco de Mayo happy hour, if you will. Okay, so I'll be seeing you more on LinkedIn. I'll be seeing you on Facebook and various places. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about what we do on a long-term basis. We have scratched the surface here tonight. Leadership and Blue Lobster Leadership is designed to grow leaders into heroes. And just so you know, last week we had 4 high-powered leaders come into Amelia Island, which is where I work out of now. Dave Ramsey put it together. John Maxwell was one of the speakers. They spoke for 4 days at the Omni. I think the price to attend this thing was about $7,500 to sit in a comfortable chair with about 500 other people and listen to these guys talk about leadership. I've heard John Maxwell, and I know you would have gotten something out of it. But here's the question. When it was over, everybody went home. And nobody has anybody to talk to about their own leadership examples right now. We do things a little bit differently. We take the people that you have, the rock stars, the store managers, the store supervisors, the servers, that are just, they're rock stars to you. They're so good that you're thinking, I can put them in charge of the store. I can put them in charge of the shift. Before you do that, do them a favor, do yourself a favor, do the people that they're going to lead a favor, and train them in some of the basics and the foundations of leadership. That's what we do. And we don't do it in a lecture hall. We don't do it by lecturing to people. We do it in discussion in small groups. It doesn't cost $7,500 to attend. In fact, we do it in a group of 6. And if you get 6 people together, it's a very reasonable price per individual. You know where to reach me. If you didn't, you wouldn't be here. Anyway, my email is richard.brown@leader2hero. That's T-O hero, not 2 hero, but leader2hero, richard.brown@leader2hero.com. Get in touch with me. Let's see if I can offer something up for your staff, for that neighbor, for your son, for your daughter. We work with all genders. We work with everybody we can, as long as they're motivated, they're engaged, and they want to engage in the discussion of leadership. And with that, I'll end our Cinco de Mayo special with a very hearty hasta la vista and lead up.